Welcome, everyone. I'm Jeffrey Goodman, Director of Marketing and Development for the YMCA of Northwest Louisiana. We're here at 318 Latino Studios for Shreveport-Bossier, my city, my community, my home. And our guest today is the very special Dr. Heather Carpenter. Dr. Carpenter, Heather, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. This could be fun. So, You are the Director of INAR, the Institute for Nonprofit Administration and Research at LSU Shreveport. INAR was established in 2001 to conduct research and disseminate knowledge about nonprofit organizations and social research. INAR offers nonprofit education programs, professional development seminars, and quality research and statistical analysis to clients. My goal today is to make people better understand INAR and the important role it is playing in our community. So let's start here. What nonprofit certificates and degrees does LSUS currently offer, and how will its offering expand beginning this fall?
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me today. Really happy to talk about my work and INAR. So our mission is also to increase the capacity of nonprofits, and our degree programs are primarily focused on nonprofit administration. So we have students from all over the United States and locally that are enrolled in our program. So our program that's been around the longest and is the most well-known is our Masters of Nonprofit Administration. We have 175 students from all over the United States, and that's offered through LSU Online. And we also have some non-degree certificate programs through the Office of Continuing Education. So these are on-demand online certificates that students can take at their own pace in grant writing, human resource management, fundraising, if people want to refresh their skills or learn about a new topic in nonprofit administration.
And typically, how many hours is a certificate program?
It's pretty much takes around 8 to 10 hours of an individual's time to go through that, if they go straight through. But some people do it in segments because they're in modules. Okay. So, yeah. And then we're launching several new programs this fall, and the newest program is going to be our in-person Bachelor of Science in Nonprofit Administration. And we're really excited because this one will be really focused on helping prepare the next generation of nonprofit leaders and have internships with nonprofit organizations in the community. So there's only about 33 of these programs across the United States. And with these programs that exist, they're very connected to the community with service learning and where students do projects and internships with local organizations. So we're really thankful for our advisory board, which you're a member of, and other members that have encouraged us to offer this degree program. And then we also are going to be launching 2 certificate programs that are 4 credits. So what that means is that if a student's not ready to do a full bachelor's degree, or they've already have a bachelor's degree and they want to just get their feet wet with a graduate certificate program. So these are like pieces of our program. So the graduate certificate is 4 courses, and like nonprofit administration, nonprofit fundraising, nonprofit finance. And so we've got a lot of response from the community feedback of professionals from around the country that want this type of education. And if they want, then after that, they can continue on to do the full degree. So we've had some nonprofit professionals in Washington State that have been piloting this certificate, and it's been very well received.
And that'll start this fall as well?
Yeah, those both programs, and those are online. So like I said, we have the master's, which is completely online, and then the 2 certificates that are online. And then the bachelor's will be an in-person option as well.
Fantastic.
Yeah, so we're very thankful for the community and the interest in these programs.
Absolutely. All right, so I think my next 2 questions have to do with some quotes that you've provided in the past. You once said, plentiful job opportunities exist in the nonprofit sector as 8% of the Louisiana workforce is employed at nonprofit organizations. Those opportunities exist locally as well, with approximately 2,000 nonprofit organizations employing nearly 20,000 workers in the Shreveport-Bossier area. You mentioned this a little bit, but can you talk about how many nonprofit degree programs similar to what INAR offers exist locally? I know you threw a number, I guess, nationally, exist locally in the state.
Well, there isn't other programs like ours in the state. So our competitors, we're not really, I guess we're our competitors, but we're part of a national organization called the Nonprofit Academic Centers Council, which I actually happen to be on the board of, that sets the curriculum guidelines for these programs and accredits these programs. And so I guess you would say that our closest competitor is like Texas A&M, also Auburn, Alabama. So there's only 50 master's programs like ours in the country. And so that would be my response to locally in the state. So I was talking to a prospective student yesterday, in fact, and she was like, oh, I'm researching master's programs. And wouldn't you know, I found one right in Shreveport. I mean, I've been looking all over the country, and it's amazing that this program is here at LSU Shreveport, because they're not at every university. And
Which is exactly why I asked the question, because I think INAR is a gem in this community that very few people know about, and I think it's important to realize how fortunate we are to have this program, not only in our community, but in our state.
Thank you. Well, I want to talk a little bit more. I don't know if your questions later on are about curriculum. Can I?
Yeah, please.
Can I talk about the curriculum?
Yeah.
So often people are like, oh, there's lots of misconceptions about nonprofits around the fact that there is a lot of employment, right? You're employed with a nonprofit. They pay well. Anyway, I digress. But the fact of the matter is that the curriculum is set up to help people to run more effective nonprofit organizations. And so often people like who end up in nonprofits get degrees or focus on other areas, like maybe related to their mission or social work, working with individual clients. And then people end up working or starting their own nonprofit organization. So that's why our degree is pretty popular, and also the certificates too, because some people who already have other master's degrees don't want to do a full degree. They find the certificate is appealing. So.
Yeah, no, it's critical information and critical support for the profession. Absolutely. All right. So pulling another quote, you also once said, "My mission and passion is to help people," which is kind of speaks to what you just said, is to help people run more effective nonprofit organizations. One of the ways that INAR achieves the above is by providing consulting services to existing nonprofits and to people wanting to start a nonprofit. Can you talk about the consulting service arm offered by INAR?
Sure. We so as we have our master's degree program, so we have graduate assistants that work in INAR that work with me closely, and we get calls with nonprofits quite frequently, local and across the state, looking for assistance. So we pretty much provide any type of nonprofit administration assistance. So things from a fundraising plan or strategic plan, or where do I look for funding for grants? I do financial management training with boards and staff. So on different aspects of helping them do succession planning within nonprofit organizations. So it really depends on the need within the nonprofit organization. But my students, my consulting assistants, and we work together to create a proposal based on the nonprofit's needs, and then we work with them to follow through with that consulting agreement.
And that's an important part of INAR's work, right, in the community? Yeah,
it is, and it's around that capacity building, and unfortunately, not all nonprofits can afford. I mean, even though we're very affordable rates, there's very little funding provided for infrastructure and capacity building, and so that's our our future mission is to really be able to get funding to provide that for free for nonprofits, that technical assistance, so we can be an on-call place for any nonprofit, no matter the size.
And I know what this means because you and I have talked a lot about it, but for someone who's just hearing this term for the first time or hasn't heard it that often, when you say capacity building, like explain like that concept. What does it mean to build capacity in an organization or a nonprofit organization?
Well, most people, I'm assuming most people have heard of the well-known nonprofit organizations in our town, like VOA, Volunteers for America, the Y, Volunteers for Youth Justice. So these are organizations that have good amount of staff and capacity to do their work. But a lot of people, as they're starting or running smaller organizations, they are trying to scale or to meet their mission. And so they're trying to raise funds to provide their services. And so what happens is due to the structure of how nonprofits are typically funded and supported, many struggle with going to that next step. So adding additional staff, additional software, whatever they need to do their work, to achieve their mission. And so that's where we're trying to close the gap for them to get to that next level, so that they could afford to do an audit, to get higher levels of funding, so that they could train their board to be more proactive in fundraising. So that's perfect. That's in a nutshell.
Thank you. Okay, so many people locally know the name LANO, which stands for Louisiana Alliance for Nonprofits. I know you partner a great deal with the LANO office out of Baton Rouge. Mm-hmm. My first question is, does LANO still have an office here locally?
No, they're primarily based out of Baton Rouge, but they partner with us we partner with them on the statewide conference that we're hosting here in September at the LSUS campus. And then they do come up here for different meetings. Like they're going to be hosting a meeting with Blue Cross Blue Shield. But we are working with them because they are really prevalent in the south of the state, and they're doing a cohort, professional development cohort, in the southern part of the state. And so we're doing one up here. So we feel like, and we've had conversations about what role that they should play versus us. And so, because we do have a statewide presence too, but so LANO, it's actually Louisiana Alliance for Nonprofits. They don't use LANO anymore. I don't even know if they have an acronym, but Louisiana Alliance, they provide the professional development. They do a lot of advocacy work, and we don't do any advocacy work. But the difference is we do the research. So we do research on the state of nonprofits, and so we're working to collaborate with them on providing the research as well, and the academics side of things.
And you started to get into this in September of this year. Nonprofit professionals from across the state will descend upon LSU Shreveport's campus for the statewide conference for Louisiana's nonprofits. This conference is a result of a partnership between INAR, I had LANO, but I won't say Louisiana Association for Nonprofits. Talk to me about what we can expect from the September 20th conference. Sure.
Well, I'm really thankful to partner with Louisiana Alliance, and our goal is really, and this is the first time in many years that the statewide conference has been here in the northern part of the state. And we're bringing
an annual conference.
Yes. I mean, I think they took a few years off during COVID, but yeah, last year we had it in Baton Rouge. And so they're actually working to bring buses of people up here to come to this conference. And we're really hoping, of course, for many nonprofits of our, 3,000 nonprofits that we have in our area, a lot of them will attend.
Is this open to the public?
It's open to the public. Anyone can attend. Nonprofits, board members. It's $100, but then we encourage people to join Louisiana Alliance. So the member rate is $100, and we do have student discounts as well. But we are expecting 200 to 300 people. And we're bringing in national speakers for this. So
it's a one-day?
It's a one-day event on September 20th. We are going to have a reception the night before. There's a pre-conference workshop that's sponsored by our local Association of Fundraising Professionals chapter. We have Dr. Colton Strasser, who actually teaches in our program fundraising. He's a certified fundraising executive, and he's also a master trainer with AFP, with Association of Fundraising Professionals. So he's going to do a pre-conference workshop for us on the 19th, and that's an additional fee. But then on the next day, we have national speakers, Maya Anista Smith, who's the founding executive director of Born This Way, Lady Gaga's foundation, is going to be talking about their kindness campaign and how they built that organization to be a national organization. And then we also have Beth Cantor, who's written 4 books, very well-known nonprofit leader. So she has a blog, and her expertise is actually twofold. One, data, AI for nonprofits. So she's in the nonprofit tech space, but she also wrote a book called The Healthy, Happy Nonprofit, and helping nonprofits reduce burnout. And so she's going to be talking a little bit about that. And we're really excited that both these speakers are going to be coming to us.
Where does one go to register?
The registration link is through the Louisiana Alliance for Nonprofit website.
Is it active now?
It's active. It is active and live. We do have sponsorships available for any company that would like to get access to the nonprofit attendees that work with nonprofits directly. And yeah, we're really excited to raise the visibility of our part of the state, as well as we have other speakers as well. And I'm going to be speaking on the State of Nonprofits in Louisiana report, the most recent report. So
I highly encourage anyone in the nonprofit space locally absolutely to take advantage of this. This is a special opportunity.
Definitely.
Okay. So my last question, we can certainly talk further, but my last question has to do with another thing you brought up. Let's talk about another aspect. I have LANO all over my questions. Lastly, let's talk about another aspect of your partnership with Louisiana Alliance. Thanks to a generous grant from the Carolyn W. and Charles T. Beaird Family Foundation, INAR is currently hosting a capacity building cohort for nonprofit leaders in the Shreveport-Bossier region. Talk to me, if you could, about the cohort, how it works, and why this is such an important offering to our nonprofit community.
Great, thank you. So as I talked to you a little bit before around my desire and the need for nonprofits to receive capacity building for free. So we really wanted to provide, and again, with support from the Beaird Foundation, we could not have done this without them. They funded for the nonprofits to go through a series of 13 workshops on all different aspects of nonprofit administration.
For 13 weeks,
For 13 weeks straight.
And how many, so talk to me a little bit about the selection. You have how many nonprofit?
Yeah, so we have 15 nonprofit leaders, 15 nonprofits of all different sizes. So we have a few startups to nonprofits that are like a few $1 million in budget. So the small to mid-size range, they're looking to learn different aspects of how to enhance their areas of nonprofit administration. And what we built around this program is we also have mentors like you that have expertise in certain areas of nonprofit administration that we've paired up with each of the nonprofit leaders. So the nonprofit leaders then are going to be doing a capacity building project with their organizations. So for example, we just met on Tuesday and we're talking further about, okay, now that you've gone through most all the workshops, our last workshops next week, what is the area that you're wanting to focus on? I mean, some of them had an idea going into it, but as they've had the workshops, they're like, oh, I want to narrow it down. So someone's implementing a brand new customer relationship management database within their organizations, and others doing a marketing plan. I mean, like we have so many different projects that they're doing. And then they're going to be finishing up the cohort in November, and they're going to be presenting the project. So I'm really excited about what the outcomes will be from this. And again, like building their capacity and supporting them. And they've already told me they want to meet during the summer, even though we hadn't built that into that. I was like, okay, that's great. I mean, we're trying like as to be a convener of nonprofits in the region so they can learn from one another as well.
You are. And so it started, when was the first of the 13?
It was in February, so it's almost
from
done.
February to November, so
Yeah.
almost 13 consecutive weeks starting in February, and then from June to November, let's say they work with their mentor on a project, and then in November they'll present the project to the entire group. Is that the way?
Yeah.
And is this something you see INAR continuing to do on an annual basis, maybe every 2 years?
I mean, this was a pilot thing. So even though I work for a state institution, I'm still fundraising through our foundation, thankfully. And we want to be able to sustain this work moving forward. So as I've told the funder, like, I want to see the outcomes. I want to see if this is worthwhile to continue, if this is really beneficial for the nonprofits, and then find a sustainable funding source for it. Just like any nonprofit, we're trying to build our base of funding to make our work sustainable. And if you don't mind, could I talk a little bit about some future initiatives and everything?
You can talk about anything.
Okay. All right.
Absolutely at all.
I appreciate the opportunity.
I tried to just scratch the surface with you because I know you fairly well, and I'm fairly involved with INAR. So anything you want to talk about, please.
Okay,
this
great.
Is your time.
Awesome. Thanks. Well, I'm just really grateful, for the guidance of our advisory board and the nonprofits that we've met in the community. And we're getting a lot of feedback from the cohort members of the challenges that they're facing within their organization to sustain their work. As we've
Can I interrupt one second?
Yeah, sure.
What are kind of some of the recurring challenges? There's obviously everyone, or not everyone, but a recurring one's obviously going to be, we can always use more money, but
obviously,
what are other recurring comments you hear from the nonprofits?
I think it's, and I ran nonprofits before I went back to school with my PhD, so I get it, and I've experienced this myself. It's always focusing on the mission and the work, and it was a big deal for them to take out time of like every Tuesday morning to go to these workshops, because they've got multiple things going on. And so how we as INAR wants to continue to support them to achieve their mission. So what that looks like for us is really trying to establish a technical assistance center for nonprofits in our state. So we have billions of dollars that go from the federal government to business incubation and business professional development to build the capacity of businesses. And we're working, with Louisiana Alliance to talk about the importance, the economic contributions, the fact that, as we talked about the 3,000 jobs and the 1.9 billion nonprofits in the United States. We have 22,000 nonprofits in our state, and they're contributing billions of dollars to the economy, to our local and state economy. And so expressing the importance of how they need technical assistance too. And so as we have the government funding the SBA, at the national level, there's work to try to form a nonprofit center. And so we're trying to do that at the state level as well. So that nonprofits can achieve their missions. We saw nonprofits during COVID. They were on the front lines of providing the food, the social service assistance. They didn't stop doing the work. And in fact, they saw an increased demand, more work, and they had less staff doing that work. And so they tend to, the research shows that they tend to be opposite of businesses. When businesses struggle during recessions, nonprofits are actually thriving and doing more work because they're serving the most underrepresented in the community. And we have also the fact that we are one of the highest rate of poverty in the United States, in our state. And so we have major human service nonprofits in our region and in our state that are doing this pivotal work. And so we're hoping that, we can further collaborate with government officials and key leaders, corporate leaders in the community to continue to express how important nonprofits are vital to the community and economic contributors, just like businesses. And so that's my soapbox. That's my pitch. That's what I've been passionate about for many years. And I'm really grateful for this platform to be able to do this. And so our next projects are that. And however long it will take to get funded, I will do this work to try to build this technical assistance center. I would love to be able to provide free services to every nonprofit, but we have to pay our bills. So INAR is primarily sustained by our clients with our nonprofit organizations. I mean, we are a unique institute within the university in the sense that we are self-funded. And so we are similar to other nonprofits in that regard. So we're working to continue to sustain our work to achieve our mission. But the other project stemmed out of the state of the nonprofit sector research was the GIS map. So that's something that I'm really excited to launch and share with the state as a resource. And again, with our work, we're looking for sponsors of this map, but we have all 22,000 nonprofits mapped. And we're thankful we have graduate assistance, but in order to sustain and update this map, it takes time and money to do that. But we feel this map is going to be a resource for funders, leaders, capacity builders, anyone looking to look at the nonprofit data, see where they're located. You can search for nonprofits by the type of nonprofit they are. So the National Taxonomy of Exempt Organizations classifies nonprofits under this NTEE codes. And so there's 10 primary codes like arts nonprofits, health and human service, education. And so you can search the database for that. You can search by organizational size, you can search by parish, by zip code, so all different search categories. And then the public can download the data and look up the nonprofit. So we had a nonprofit here in Shreveport that was trying to start that's doing crime prevention. And so they met with us and we did a search. We said, okay, here's all the other crime prevention nonprofits in the city that you need to reach out to. So this is going to be helpful for other people who are starting nonprofits. I mean, we get calls from all different types of nonprofits that are starting up. So that's our project. And so that one we're hoping to launch in August. And then the other thing is that we are going to launch with our conference is something that we've been working on for a few months as part of our consulting services is we want to provide a booklet. We're providing a booklet. It's almost finished. It's called Your Journey to Nonprofit Success. And so it's for nonprofits and board members of just the primary things that you need to know to run a nonprofit. So type of insurance for nonprofits, what basic things that boards should know. And so going back to your question of what are the challenges, and those are the things that we've found out is that, and what we've already provided is training for boards on financial management, since that's a legal requirement for nonprofits to know, for the board members to understand the finances. And a lot of people don't know nonprofit finance. I mean, it's not taught in business school. We have a specialized accounting rules. And so we're providing that training, but we're very one of the few that are doing that. And then there's, just succession planning, volunteer management. So we're going to be offering workshops in the fall on those topics. So I'm going to be teaching a workshop on financial management. We're going to have a volunteer management workshop. We'll continue to offer grant writing because that's very popular. But we're trying to address and do workshops that from the cohort and from the nonprofit leaders that we've been talking about that they say, I want a workshop on this. I want help with this. And I think, you were a part of the marketing cohort one, and that's something that we need to explore further as well. So we had the nonprofit leaders rank what's the most important, and marketing communications came up. And again, that's not an area that's funded very much. I mean, it's something that nonprofits need in order to raise awareness of their services. I'm preaching to the choir here, but anyway.
No, I completely agree.
So anyway, as you can tell, I'm very passionate about this.
No, I love it. I'm a huge fan of yours. I'm a huge fan of your organization.
Thank you.
And I think what you're doing is important work. I think it's much needed in this community. I mean, what you said earlier, I think you are bringing nonprofits together. We're learning from each other. We're making new relationships, and we're being able to leverage each other's knowledge, and all of that is incredible, is invaluable and incredibly helpful to each of us better achieving our own missions.
Thank you. I think we just need to work together to say that nonprofits need to run effectively with infrastructure and with technology, with staffing, in order to better help and serve the community. So it's a message that we're trying to continue to work to get across and to support nonprofits, and like I said, in that gap where they don't necessarily get funding for.
So don't ever lose your passion.
Okay, thanks.
Anything else you want to mention?
No, I'm good.
Thanks for being here.
Okay,
really
thank you. Thank you.